And interesting, picking up on one of the misconceptions we spoke about, where some customers have a view that it doesn't really impact them. It's interesting. We were speaking to quite a large cheese manufacturer recently, and 60% of their revenue was based on selling to one of the major supermarkets. And sort of out of nowhere, that supermarket came and they'd set their net zero targets of 2030, and all of a sudden this cheese manufacturer now had to ensure that, because they fall into that supply chain, that they then had to accelerate their net zero journey in order to maintain that revenue. Is that something that you're seeing more and more of?
Yeah, increasingly so as well, and particularly smaller businesses that actually are being hit by that quite a lot, because often some of the large businesses may be kind of already thinking about their kind of scope 1 and 2, but anyone who's kind of then feeding into those bigger businesses who have started thinking about their scope 3 are going to be impacted by this, and it's only going to be something that picks up as well. It's not something that kind of is happening a little bit now. Increasingly, I think it will be kind of part of all supplier and get all kind of work that the clients are doing, all business. You'll have to kind of justify or explain what you're doing, and show that you're measuring your emissions. So yeah, it's definitely something to kind of start working on sooner rather than later as a result of that.
Yeah, and I suppose that is that what you'd suggest is, don't ignore it. If you can get ahead now and make inroads now, it'll put yourself in a better position in the future.
Particularly, your scope 1 and 2, get ahead on that particularly, and then also if you want to start working on your scope 3, because some suppliers are also requiring that to be part of it if they want you to be a net zero, and actually it's not, and you can't measure scope 3 emissions in a couple of weeks. It is a process, so it's worth kind of getting ahead of that, kind of being slightly ahead of the curve, so that when those questions come, you don't panic, you've got the answers, and actually, you can then keep doing that business in the way that you were before.